What is up, guys? It is your boy N607 here. Welcome to another review video. So today, and considering that this is the month of Halloween, well, at least when I'm recording this, you might be watching a different month, but whatever. It's the Halloween month, and I'm not the kind of person that plays a lot of horror games, but I figured, hey, let's play something, and I ended up playing a game that I honestly thought I would never go back to, Bendy in the Ink Machine. Now, this is a game that I actually have played a long time ago. Well, the first chapter specifically. I only ever played the first chapter around the time when it first came out, back in like 2017, but I haven't really caught up with the game since then. I did get it a year or so later down the line on the Nintendo Switch, but I didn't really play much of it on there, to be honest. And I honestly thought it would be just a game that I would always be on my backlog and that I would never finish the game. But because I was feeling like playing something a little more spoopy, I decided I'm going to play through the entire game. And so I played through the whole game, and now I'm making my video on it. So without further ado, let's get right into this. Starting off with the presentation now. If you don't know what Bendy and the Ink Machine is about, it's basically a point and click horror game, basically. Well, not point and click necessarily. You move around, you collect objects and whatnot, you click at things and whatnot. You can see right now on the screen kind of what it's like, a first person, more so an adventure kind of game as you go through your old cartoon studio 30 years later when it's all abandoned and whatnot. But yeah, it's not really the most interesting thing when I say it like that, but the thing that you probably can take a very close notice at is the presentation and the visuals of this game. Because this game is really, honestly, really unique looking. It kind of goes for this like semi-cartoon kind of style, like it kind of reminds you of like sepia tone a little bit with like the coloring of everything. And to be honest, the colors of everything weren't the best in my opinion when I first played the game, but as I went through the game more and more, I got more adapted to the graphics. Because I think the game really does look pretty solid, honestly. And like, well, the game isn't like super scary looking like something like, say, Outlast or something like that. It can do a really good job of creating a mood and atmosphere, and I think that works really well. I'm not going to spoil anything, even though the game's a few years old, but still, it's really solid. And performance-wise, the game's pretty solid. I played the game on a Nintendo Switch, which I guess might be the worst version of the game, but it still looked fine on there, and it ran at solid 30 FPS, so no real problems there. So presentation-wise, pretty solid. And then moving on to the story. So like I mentioned before, you're going back to your old cartoon studio after 30 years. You get a note from your boss that you say at the very beginning of the game to come back because he has something to show you. And you kind of look around for a little bit until you eventually find this huge ink machine that seemingly brings the cartoon characters that they spent years drawing cartoons of to life, supposedly. And I'm not gonna really go too far into it, but you essentially try and figure out what's really going on in the facility and really what was actually happening. And you learn more stuff about like a cult and stuff like that, and it's really interesting stuff. I really like the story of the game and like the lore it has as well, especially through the audio logs or cassette players or whatever that give you a better idea of like how horrible it would have been to work there. It really is. I really like the story of the game, and I think many people agree it's its strongest point. So story-wise, Bendy is really solid at that. Now onto gameplay, and this is where I get a little bit more mixed, so it's not the worst thing ever. Now, this is a game, like I mentioned at the very beginning, you pretty much just walk around and you kind of just find things. Basically, your objective usually will be, like there's 5 chapters, and usually you'll either have to find some location, or you'll have to find various parts for like something. Like at the beginning of the game, you have to like power the ink machine. You have to find 6 different objects that are like scattered throughout the place. And I'm gonna be honest, this is one of my bigger issues with the game is the amount of fetch quests this game can have. I love the objectives where you actually have to find where something is, and when it's not just something like, oh, find this object at this specific place that you would never think, or it's like right out of your vision cone, or whatnot, but actually like exploring the place and actually like finding out new stuff and actually like seeing just some really cool stuff. I really like when the game was like that and not fetch quests. And with that being said, I despise Chapter 3. I know Chapter 3 is probably a chapter that a lot of people don't like. Chapter 3 is way too filled with fetch quests. Literally to the point where it's genuinely annoying. While all chapters 1, 2, 4, and 5 took me around like maybe an hour to an hour and a half to finish, Chapter 3 took me around maybe 2 hours to finish. It was ridiculous and I was frustrated the whole time. The fetch quests in this game aren't even fun either. They're just annoying and unnecessary, if I'm going to be honest. Another thing I'm not too big on in this game is the combat. Now, you don't really see it in the gameplay, but basically you get like an axe and you also get like a part of a pipe and whatnot that you can use to whack enemies. And I'm going to be honest, the combat in the game isn't really the best. The main problem is that you don't really have any way of projectile attacks, because basically if you want to attack the enemy, you have to be right next to them. But the problem is that if you go right next to them, they'll attack you. So more than likely, when you go in to get a hit on the enemy, they'll get a hit on you. Now, thankfully, you can heal a little bit, but even so, like finding the soup cans, but it's still annoying though. And I do think that if they make a sequel, which I think they are, I really hope they would improve the combat. And really, that's all I really have to say about the gameplay. Honestly, the gameplay isn't really that amazing or anything like that, but even so, though, it's still alright, even if some parts of the game can get really frustrating, though. Now moving on to controls, the game control fine. Moving forward onto content. Now the game's like $20, and it took me around like maybe 5 hours to beat the game, honestly, which I know is not a very long game, but it's a very unique experience, though, at the end of the day. And even if you're like kind of on the fence, if you never played this game before and are wondering if you should, there is a demo that you can get on, at least on Steam, so that allows you to play Chapter 1, so you could always do that if you want. And really, yeah, content-wise, I wouldn't say there's really much I dislike. Yeah, it's not a very long game, but even so, though, it's a fine experience, though. Though probably not one that I'll probably come back to. And then finally, getting to the music. Now, I'm going to be honest, the music of the game can be alright. I'm going to be honest, I don't like the title theme. I despise the title theme. It really isn't that good. But I do really like how they use, like, the sound and ambience throughout the game. Like, it's not, like, the most prevalent thing ever, but, like, sometimes the ambience can be kind of creepy sometimes, and I really like that. I especially like the one part in Chapter 3 where you're in that maze with the projectionist, and like the sounds down there can be kind of creepy. I like that part, even if that part sucked a lot because, again, fetch quests because it was Chapter 3, but still, sound was fine. And now moving on to my final thoughts on this game. I think it's good. I definitely can see why people love this game a lot, although I will say that this game is definitely very far from perfect. Like I said before, the gameplay can be kind of annoying, and to be honest, the game, while the style is it can be really nice, it isn't the most appealing style out there, especially considering a lot of things just look the same. But even so, though, it still looks solid enough for what it is, and it's a solid game. It has a great story. I can see why people like this game. But on my scale of 0 to 10, I give Bendy and the Ink Machine a 7.5 out of 10. I do like this game, and I honestly will say that the story really is what is the best part of it, but I'm never going to play this game again because the gameplay's not really captivating enough for me. I don't think the gameplay's good enough to make me want to replay it. And that's not to say like the whole game sucked gameplay wise, but it's like I feel like this is a very one and done kind of game. I'm very glad I played through it, but even so, I'm probably never going to play it again, but that might just be me. But with that being said, that's just my thoughts on it. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. And if this is your first time checking out my channel, then hit the subscribe button for more videos that are not bendy, because as I just said, I'm probably never going to touch this game again. I probably won't even touch the other games in the series. I'm fine letting this just be a one and done. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching this video. And with that being said, I will see you guys next time. Peace out and take care.